you ever wondered what Amsterdam is all about? Don't just read about the culture that has accepted cannabis. Experience it firsthand with CS Travel's Sensible Amsterdam Tour with NORML. Travel to one of Europe's most beautiful cities this January for an educational and recreational visit to a city that regulates cannabis like alcohol. CS Travel has arranged an exclusive visit for reform-minded Americans that includes a private tour of some of Amsterdam's most renowned coffee shops, educational seminars with coffee shop proprietors, local law enforcement, members of the Cannabis Retailers Association, and NORML staff. Entertainment includes a special evening at the Boom Chicago Comedy Club, canal tours, visits to the city's many museums, including the world-famous Van Gogh Museum. Don't just wonder about Amsterdam, experience the beauty and freedom of this unique city firsthand with CS Travel and NORML's Sensible Amsterdam Tour. Pricing information is available online at coffeeshoptravel.com. That's coffeeshoptravel.com. Or call toll-free at 800-816-1846. That's 800-816-1846. Be a sensible American. Visit Amsterdam with CS Travel and NORML this January. Call 1-800-816-1846 right now to book your trip. More information is available at norml.org. And distributed by the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in Washington, D.C. This is your daily audio stash, the growing truth about cannabis. Welcome to the most popular audio podcast regarding marijuana in all of America and all the world, featuring interviews with scientists, politicians, doctors, prohibition policy activists, regular cannabis consumers, musicians, and NORML staff and NORML's board of directors, along with music and comedy no other podcast can offer. You can always find out more about the show at our website, normalaudiostash.com. We're ending marijuana prohibition with education, one listener at a time. Welcome back to NORML's Daily Audio Stash today. It is Monday, November 5th. I'm your host, Chris Goldstein. Take a moment to join us at NORML to help end marijuana prohibition in America. Just visit norml.org to make your donation or join NORML today. Many thanks for all the emails and shout-outs of support there for our Friday Harvest Special featuring Sendog of Cypress Hill, Bobby Black from High Times Magazine, Danny Danko from High Times Magazine as well. Danny did a great segment on Friday. And Steve Bloom in his regular weekly appearance here on Fridays. Really was a great show. Make sure to dig it. We have that new link right up on the podcast each day for the Dig website. And cast a vote for us up at podcastalley.com. Takes just a second and it helps raise awareness of this podcast, NORML's Daily Audio Stash, and of marijuana legalization in general. In tomorrow's Audio Stash, we'll have our special Election Day coverage. We'll speak with Mason Tvert out in Denver, Colorado, about the Safer Choice for Alternative Recreation campaign there for a new municipal ordinance in Denver. We'll also speak with Richard Cowan, former director of NORML, about political season and presidential politics, and we'll try and check in with the folks out in Haley, Idaho as well. So tune in Election Day here to NORML's Daily Audio Stash to find out about all of the important things happening on ballots around the country dealing with marijuana. Last year was a busy year. It's a by-election year this year, so it's not as busy this year. But look out for 2008. It's going to be a number of municipal and statewide initiatives next year, so make sure you register to vote early. Register now, and that way you can vote next year. And in our audio stash today, folks, we have some wonderful voices from the 2007 NORML Conference. Today we're going to play some of the audio from the awards banquet. We're going to hear Superior Court Judge James Gray accept his award from NORML. He's a sitting judge in California. We'll also hear longtime activist, publisher, and author Ed Rosenthal accepting his award at the NORML conference, and some other voices there as well. So it was a wonderful evening out there, a great night to appreciate all of the folks who tirelessly work towards marijuana law reform in this country and receive awards from NORML for their activity out there. Also here today to start off the show, an exclusive audio report from NORML's Executive Director, Alan St. Pierre. Alan joins us frequently here on the Audio Stash, and you can contact him at NORML at alan@norml.org. Alan offers this memorial today.
This past September, the cannabis relegalization movement witnessed the passing of a business icon and a major supporter of hemp, Dame Anita Roddick, founder of the revolutionary retailer The Body Shop, was famous worldwide for her business acumen, trend spotting, and conscious capitalism. But relatively few knew that Anita was one of the first major business leaders to wholeheartedly embrace one of the planet's most utilitarian and wrongly maligned plant species. In a social movement that is as large and mature as the cannabis law reform movement has become, Anita played a crucial behind-the-scenes role as able matchmaker, mediator, and facilitator. Within a few months after receiving a copy of Jack Herer's seminal The Emperor Wears No Clothes, Anita aggressively introduced an entire cosmetic line at the Body Shop derived from hemp. The product line was well received by Body Shop's mainly female clientele, which, for the first time, largely introduced women en masse to the promise and benefits of hemp-based products. To this day, hemp products remain a popular staple at the Body Shops. The public relations campaign for the Body Shop's hemp line was nothing less than amazing to behold, with virtually every major newspaper and magazine in the spring of 1998 carrying provocative and humorous full-page ads touting the virtues of hemp and its distinction from marijuana. I first saw the Body Shop's ad campaign for their hemp products while deplaning in Denver, where it would have been hard to miss the store's entire frontage draped in huge, beautiful cannabis leaves. Within a week, Body Shops worldwide were sporting what became, in effect, the largest pro-cannabis billboard ever. This was not without some controversy. In some anti-cannabis tolerant countries like Sweden and France, government officials tried to shut down Body Shops that advertised the products. Not satisfied with her company's efforts to popularize hemp, Anita provided the funding for what she'd hoped would be the breakthrough documentary that would alert and educate the world about hemp, The Emperor of Hemp, a film about the life and times of Jack Herer. Also, when right-wing newspapers attacked then-President Clinton for consuming an hempen ale on Air Force One, claiming Clinton was left-handedly endorsing marijuana, Anita wrote President Clinton an impassioned letter in defense of hemp and encouraged him to once and for all end the federal government's prohibition on American farmers to cultivate industrial hemp. Lastly, when it was brought to her attention that when numerous organizations working on medical access to cannabis were infighting and wasting resources, Anita, along with Drug Policy Alliance's Ethan Nadelman, convened multi-day retreats in Santa Barbara for reform leaders to cooperatively work together for the common good. The results? One of the most productive periods in cannabis law reform, 1998 to 2002, with Alaska, Colorado, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Oregon, and Washington adopting legal protections for medical cannabis patients. This is Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, in Washington, D.C.
That was Alan St. Pierre, NORML's Executive Director, and that exclusive audio report and that memorial here today. Next up today, we're going to listen into some of the NORML awards given out in Los Angeles at the NORML Annual Conference in 2007. I'm going to start things out by hearing Judge Jim Gray, he's a Superior Court judge, accept his award at the NORML banquet. We'll also hear Ed Rosenthal accept his award and listen in for some of the other honorees here today. This is the NORML Awards Banquet in Los Angeles, California at the NORML 2007 conference, October 12th, 2007. You'll hear Alan St. Pierre and Keith Strupp introducing some of the honorees. Make sure to check out all of the 2007 conference audio on the NORML Events podcast. You can find that at norml.org/podcast. Photos of the conference and individual speeches are available at the main website, norml.org.
Dale Garinger, the head of California NORML, and a NORML board member to come on up. And we'd like to ask Judge Gray to make his way to the stage. Judge Jim Gray. There you go.
Well, thank you. It's my privilege to present the Rufus King Senior Award. And this is a very appropriate award for our particular awardee here. Rufus King Sr. was a gentleman. Rufus King Sr., for those of you who don't know him, was a gentleman of the old school who witnessed the drug war from the inside of the government where he worked in the U.S. Congress, saw the horror that was there, and had to speak out about it. Our guest also worked within the government as a judge on the California Superior Court, where he still sits, in fact. And he first came to my attention and our attention back in 1991, when all of a sudden we read in the newspaper that a Superior Court judge in Orange County, no less, was suddenly denouncing the drug war, calling the drug war a failure that was only causing social disaster and had to be stopped. And what was particularly wonderful about this particular announcement was not only that it came from a judge from Orange County, but also, I must say, from a conservative Republican judge, which warmed the cockles of my heart, because many of you don't know that I was a conservative Republican in my own day, too, an old Goldwater Republican who believed in constitutional government, limited government, individual freedom and personal responsibility, values which are violated by the drug war in every way. And Judge Gray expressed those same sentiments. He went on, I guess I met him at the drug policy. Okay. Well, he was a man of action, too. He ran for Congress against B1 Bob Dornan, who is now gone from Congress. He wrote a book on why our drug laws have failed, and then he went on and ran for even higher office as the Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate against Barbara Boxer and some unknown. And he didn't quite win, but he certainly raised the issues a lot better than any of the leading candidates. He's still out there today. I read an op-ed of his in the newspaper just last week, right? So it's my honor to present this honor to Your Honor, Judge Gray.
Thank you. I am among friends, and I know it. I can tell you that I have been speaking publicly against our nation's failed and hopeless drug policy all the way since 1991. I can tell you that from this experience, I have met some of the finest human beings, some of the finest patriots that I've really ever met in my life and my career, many of whom are here right now. They share with me, they share with us, the constitutional view that the government has as much right to control what we put into our bodies as it does what we put into our minds. It's just not what the government should be able to control at all. What the government should control and has a right to control is our conduct. And when we finally in the criminal justice system realize that we have every right to control the conduct of people, conduct that might cause harm to others, but not what they put into their bodies, we will begin to curtail this disaster that we have inflicted upon ourselves. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. I am deeply proud to accept this award. Rufus King Sr. I knew Rufus. In fact, Rufus was a pioneer and was a man of true courage. And as Dale said, but this was back in the early 1950s, where he, with the American Bar Association, headed the criminal division, had a complete investigation of our drug war, wrote about it on behalf of the American Bar Association, and told the truth, namely the same thing that we're saying now. This war on drugs simply is a scourge. It is an attack on our Constitution. It is an attack on our liberties, and it simply will not be able to be successful. Rufus King was a man of courage, and I can't say, even though I am proud to be the friend of Keith and of Dr. Berman and Dale and Marcia and Angel Rach and these other people, we're not so much people of courage. We're not even so much people of vision, because it is so obvious that what we are doing is not working. And all you use is the federal government's information and statistics against them. It is absolutely fundamentally clear that we will change away from this failed drug policy. It's just a question of when, but the outcome is not in doubt. So I ask you to keep faith, keep up that vision, keep up that hard work. And like was spoken about earlier this evening, when I talk about marijuana, let's just treat marijuana like alcohol. I use alcohol. It is a mind-altering, sometimes dangerous drug. It has its problems, such as marijuana. It has its problems, too. I don't use marijuana by choice. But my drug of choice, alcohol, in my view, is far more dangerous, potentially, than marijuana. Having said that, let's treat marijuana like alcohol. Let us do that, and 5 things will happen right away, all of them beneficial. And the first is that we, at least in the state of California, will save taxpayers $1 billion that we now spend in a futile effort to eradicate marijuana and prosecute and incarcerate nonviolent marijuana dealers. And by the way, what is the largest cash crop in the state of California today? Number 2 is grapes, if you care. So let's understand that. Number 2 thing we would accomplish is, as we heard earlier, regulate and tax it. And we could bring in needed revenue to the state of California and elsewhere around the country. And now we're talking about a change in our budget deficit of at least $2.5 billion every year. You'd think people would care. And number 3 trumps the first 2, in my opinion, which is we would make marijuana less available for our children than it is today. Why? Because, of course, illegal drug dealers don't ask for ID. So let's understand that as well. Finally, 4th, the whole medical marijuana, this matter in which the federal government is acting as an absolute bully, would be simply gone. We could do away with this medical marijuana controversy, which shouldn't be a controversy at all. And finally, the whole hemp industry could be revitalized. So why do we continue in this failed way? And the answer is money. The answer is that our elected so-called officials are really good at followership. They will follow where the votes are. So continue your efforts to assist our fellow human beings here in the United States of America, a wonderful country, to understand the truth. And when they understand the truth, they are allowed themselves to discuss the truth. Then we will change away from this failed policy. So thank you. It means a great deal to me that Rufus King lives now in my chambers. Thank you all. Good luck to us all.
Thank you, Jim, very much. Thank you. Judge Gray is one of the few people I've ever written a check for a politician, and I actually felt good about it. Thank you, Judge Gray. Yeah. When we were discussing that award and we were thinking about Rufus King, we knew that Judge Gray was one of the few people that knew him going back. Rufus died almost 10 years ago, and it's a fitting honor to have Rufus King in your office. I'd like to bring back Frank Licito and Martin Martinez, if he can make his way up to the stage. Martin.
All right. So I have the honor of presenting the Peter McWilliams Memorial Award It's for outstanding achievement in advancing the cause of medical marijuana, and the recipient this year is Martin Martinez. Martin is the proprietor. He is the longest-serving patient advocate in Washington State. He's the director of Lifeline, a full-service medical marijuana patient assistance organization. He's also the author of the book, The New Prescription, Marijuana as Medicine, and also edits cannabismd.org, which I keep stumbling onto and finding invaluable. Martin, here is the Peter McWilliams Memorial Award. Thank you very much. Previous recipients have been our friends Terrence Hallinan, Mike and Valerie Corral, Irv Rosenfeld, Angel Raich, Diane Monson, Jackie Rickel, and Gary Stork, and our dear friend Jane Wyrick. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this great honor. I'm a decent writer, but I don't speak so well, so try to bear with me for a moment. I want to thank NORML so much. Keith and Alan have been at my side and on my side since my first arrest in 1996. And I can tell you, when you're out there in the cold and lonely, it's really nice to have some high friends when you're in a tight place. I just wanted to mention that I used to read a lot of science fiction, and the great science fiction writer Frank Herbert, who wrote, Robert Heinlein wrote Stranger in a Strange Land, which a lot of you probably know. It still represents to me a lot of the alienation that we feel in this minority population of cannabis users in America. Robert Heinlein was also well known for saying that people deserve their government. People deserve their government. And I believe what he meant by that is that if we are not willing to stand up and fight for what is right, then we are forced to go along with what is wrong. And that is why I so much appreciate and respect, the people in this room and all the people that couldn't be here who are NORML supporters. NORML is, there are several great drug reform organizations. NORML, in my experience, is close to the grassroots, and we really need to hand it to Keith and Alan and all the supporters of NORML who have been a lighthouse in these dark ages. I also wanted to say that I did not volunteer for this, that I was dragged into this war, the war against the war on us. I was dragged into it kicking and screaming with handcuffs, and it's no fun. But I need cannabis. I can't not do what I'm doing. I need cannabis to lead a relatively normal life. But there are people like Peter McWilliams who actually died from a lack of cannabis when the government refused to let him have it. Cannabis is what I call nature's greatest medicine, and we are on a very high mission here to help free the weed for all people in America. I never met Peter McWilliams face to face, though. We both communicated via email while we were both experiencing our travails. And Peter was a great spirit, as many of us know, who always trying to keep a positive outlook. And he's closed every email to me, at least, with the single word "enjoy" as his closure. And Peter McWilliams was willing to fight to his death for that right, and we all need to take a lesson from that, and we need to follow in the example and stand up for our rights. And thank you all for being here, my extended family. I want to thank all of us who are willing to stand up for what is right, and I also need to thank my former attorney, Allison Holcomb, who is now Marijuana Education Project, manager of the ACLU, and of course Jeffrey Steinborn, and my true love Danielle, who I couldn't do anything without. Couldn't be here tonight, but thank you all for your appreciation.
All right, you're welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Martin. Martin is an incredibly intelligent individual. I always love hearing his voice when he calls because he's going to relate something serious. And if you're in Washington State, you really have no better advocate. He's a wonderful person. He's got a huge heart. I'd like to ask NORML Board of Director Peter Vilkilis to come on up. And we love giving this particular award every couple of years to couples. I mean, what's really better than two couples who share their love and compassion for life, but also, in this case, are trying to advocate or advocating quite effectively for marijuana law reform. So I'd like to ask Diane and Brian Brickner and John and Heather Masterson, come on up wherever you are.
Outstanding Cannabis Advocate Award. As Alan said, this year is special. We're awarding not one but two awards to not one but two sets of individuals, married couples. Who says NORML doesn't support family values? NORML brings people together like marijuana brings people together. You know, when you're in school, you're at work, we always manage to somehow find each other. And under the most adverse circumstances. Now, I don't know for sure that marijuana is what brought these two couples together, but it seems to be the glue that keeps them together and helps them keep helping us. John and Heather Masterson from Missoula, Montana, Montana NORML. Despite working full-time jobs and having plenty to do other than this, they devote a huge amount of time and energy to our cause. Montana is a vast state. Their use of technology united the state and helped pass a medical marijuana law in Montana a couple of years ago. Brian and Diana Brickner from Chicago, Illinois, my hometown, Illinois NORML. Back in the 70s, there was Illinois NORML, and it kind of floated into a sense of rather being kind of moribund. And about 10 years ago or so, Brian and Diana performed CPR, and they resuscitated Illinois NORML. And they brought cannabis activism in Illinois back to where it should have been for a long time, and we're very proud of them. They brought it to a higher level than it ever was before. Their integrity and their intellectual rigor inspires all of us in Illinois to work harder to achieve our goal of passing a medical marijuana law. Their energy and activism in Illinois has gotten us to a situation where it's finally made it out of committee, and this year we only lost by 9 votes in the Illinois Senate. And coming from Illinois, I think that's pretty fucking huge, to tell you the truth. So in any event, I know this is starting to get late, but we want to honor the Mastersons and the Brickners, and somebody's got an award for them here somewhere, and congratulations.
Well, we're down to the last 2 awards, and when we're done with that, we'll bring the band up. And when the band ends tonight, that's the end of the auction. So when it's the end of the music, that's the end of the auction. Well, all these awards are prestigious, to be sure, but the last 2 that we save, you really got to do a lot. For one thing, you got to live and be involved with this movement for 20 or more years at least. So I'd like to bring up Keith to introduce the winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Ed Rosenthal.
Where's the hat? Where's the hat? There you go, bro. Let's have it. Let's have the picture. Thank you all. Thank you.
Let me just remind people of the role that Ed Rosenthal has played in our lives. By the way, I'll acknowledge right out front that there have been times where we weren't always the closest of friends. Is that fair, Ed? But, you know, what you realize as you get older and as you work in this movement, that people who contribute really mightily to this, Ed Rosenthal has been a major icon in this movement. And so we are recognizing him tonight with our award for a lifetime achievement. A little summary of his life. I know you all know him. Ed is recognized worldwide as a leading authority on marijuana. In his 30-plus years as America's guru of ganja, I believe was the expression, he has written or edited more than a dozen books about marijuana cultivation and social policy, and culminatedly have sold over 1 million copies. Now, 2 million now, Ed said. I'm reading an old version. His first book, The Marijuana Grower's Guide, is, I think, a bestseller and has been for as long as I've been alive. I have no idea how many times he sold it. He hosts 420 Report, a monthly radio show on KPFA in Berkeley. I think he still does that today. That blends its politics and culture with news, music, and call-ins. Rosenthal was one of the original American writers to travel to Holland who brought the knowledge and sophistication about what they were doing over there to us. I mean, you understand, but for Ed, I'm not sure we would have good marijuana in Northern California or in every other of the 50 fucking states of America. He's been an expert witness in hundreds of cases where people have been charged with crimes. But, by the way, most recently, what we all know, let me just get a thing. So it was in February 12th in 2002 that the government chose. We didn't choose Ed as our fucking victim. The government chose him. That's the way it happens, you know. And they picked him, and they said he's growing marijuana for Oakland, California. And they're doing a thing where they're trying to help patients under this new Prop 215. And guess what? The feds brought their first case. And who did they challenge but one of the bravest son of a bitches in America, Ed Rosenthal. And after they tried him one time and they got 1 day, you know, they got a conviction because it's federal court and he can't mention medical marijuana or Prop 215. And they gave him 1 day time served. And this judge is Judge Breyer. You know, keep in mind, this is a brother of the Supreme Court Justice. We're not talking small stuff here. And they try him again. And what does the judge do? He gives him the same fucking 1 day. He convicted him again, of course. And here is our friend, Ed Rosenthal, who has probably done more to advance the legalization of marijuana than maybe anyone in this room. Please welcome Ed Rosenthal.
Thank you, Keith. Well, let's see. First of all, I think that everybody here has done a lot, and it takes a whole community to change these laws, and I'm proud to be part of that community. We all know that these laws are doomed, and we all know that, like dinosaurs, there's a big opposition to it. And as Judge Gray mentioned, that this opposition is really based on it's a jobs issue for cops and for judges and for prosecutors and for that whole line that cascades down from an arrest. It's a $30 billion a year jobs issue, and that's what we're fighting against. That's where it's at. And for years I've been saying that. This isn't something new that I'm saying, but it was only a few weeks ago that I realized something else, that that this war is part of the Bush administration's war on science. Yes, the marijuana laws are part of the war on science, and the Bush administration's war on science has been profound in destructing the infrastructure of the whole scientific infrastructure of this country. Let me show you some of the things. First of all, the Bush administration would still say that marijuana leads to harder drugs, which is a myth. It's anti-science. If they looked at any science, they'd know that it was wrong, that their attitude was wrong. They say that marijuana is harmful. Well, they've spent literally billions of dollars giving all these scientists money to try and find something wrong with marijuana. And all the scientists do is come up and find new good uses for it medically. Part of the war on science. They say that, it destroys youth. Part of the war on science. Well, I have a 16-year-old daughter. Believe me, I'd rather see her with a joint than a glass of alcohol in her hand. Not that she does anything like that, nor do any of her friends, I'm sure. And so we have a more profound fight on our hands than we thought that we did. But still, these laws are doomed. And, I want to mention one other thing. I'm not going to make a big speech, which, I could go on for a long, long time. But, we have to get over the opinion that we are a minority. We are not the minority. If you look at the actual polls, what does it say? First of all, that the overwhelming majority of voting Americans think that medical marijuana should be legal. And every time it comes up, that people vote for it. Look, Bush won in Montana by a wide margin, but with the help of the Bruckners, marijuana won by a wider margin than Bush did. Marijuana is more popular than any politician. It's obvious. And basically so that's the first thing. That these laws are not popular. Then you go and look at, you ask people, do you think that people should go to jail for marijuana? And when we've done polls on it, time after time, a majority of Americans think that people should not, they're not saying that it should be legal, but they're saying people shouldn't go to jail for it. We are the majority. It's as simple as that. And we have to get past the attitude that we are the minority begging the politicians to do us a favor. They'll do themselves a favor when they start endorsing marijuana. And what we have to do is get the tail, that is the criminal justice system, from wagging this dog. Because we should be controlling this. We have to get it out of the hands of the police on every phase. And they say, we'll have the police look into this in a police commission. What do the police know? All they know is how to bust people, how to recognize it, how to bust people, how to sign the forms, and how to lie when they get to the court. So they are taught to lie. Anybody who thinks that, Judge Gray, I want to let you know, you should give every cop a lie detector test when he testifies. Right. Okay. So we have to get out of this idea that we're the minority, and we have to go back to the politicians and say, we're tired of this crap. You're going to follow us, not the cops. Throw the cops out. We're the voters. Thank you very much. Hey, before you go, I want everybody to say with me one thing. These laws are doomed. Everybody, these laws are doomed. Thank you.
Hey. A great America.
About a year ago, a good friend of mine, author Eric Schlosser, called up, and he was at some book fair. I think he might have been in Germany. He called me up on, today's world of cell phones. He calls up and he goes, "Here's this guy walking around this book fair wearing this wizard outfit." And I said, "Oh, really?" He says, "There's marijuana leaves all over it." I said, "Really? I wonder who could that be?" Yeah, Ed gets all over the place, no doubt.
That was audio from the NORML 2007 conference, the NORML Awards banquet dinner there. And we heard Ed Rosenthal, Judge Jim Gray, and others. We've got more complete speeches and panels, more NORML Conference 2007 audio available on the NORML Events podcast. You can check that out at norml.org/podcast. Photos from the conference are available. You can click on the NORML Conference Photos and Speeches icon right up at norml.org. Listening to NORML's Daily Audio Stash, the growing truth about cannabis. Make sure you visit our website at normlaudiostash.com. That's NORMLAUDIOSTASH.com for more information about every day's show. I'm your host, Chris Goldstein. Thanks for listening today. See you at 4:20 tomorrow. The podcasting technology of NORML is made possible by Red Aphid Interactive Media. More information at redaphid.com.